All right, everyone. We'll get this thing kicked off here. This is Cody Cochran with MBSI WAV. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning, afternoon, wherever in the country you may be located. Just a quick, we hope everybody's staying safe. We hope your friends, family, everybody is doing well as we're all kind of cooped up right now. As the weather improves, it's getting tougher, but let's all try to hang in there. So let's get into the, let's get going here. So MBSI WAV, we've recently brought on ICT, Innovative Circuit Technologies, and we're very proud to be showcasing this webinar along with them today. Today's session will be kind of an overview, a little bit of a deep dive into the full power solutions that ICT brings to the table. We are a proud stocking distributor of ICT's products here at MBSI WAV. We've been extremely excited to have this relationship kick off. Just a couple of quick things regarding housekeeping. The webinar will be recorded and uploaded to all of our social media outlets after we finish up here today. Be sure to check out our YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. to find the webinar post. So if you happen to have to pull away for a few minutes and miss something, no problem there. If you have any questions or comments, please do drop them in the chat window as we move along. We will do our best to answer the questions as we move through the session. If not, we will peel some time off at the end to address all of those questions. So no problem there. If the chat window does not automatically open for you, there should be a little button at the bottom of the Zoom platform for you to just click and open it up. So we'll be monitoring that as we go through. Please make sure to pay attention. As always on MBSI WAV's webinars, we will be giving away a $100 Amazon gift card for answering a skill testing question, something that will be covered during the content here today. So again, ICT really has brought MBSI WAV Solutions offering, it's really cranked it up a notch. ICT's product lines complement every area of a wireless network. ICT helps operators provide their networks proper, reliable, and remotely managed power solutions, which is a lot stronger of a story than simply, hey, we're just using a cheap power supply or many on a certain tower. So again, MBSI WAV here, we can help you with planning, network design, post and pre-sales support on every piece of a wireless network, including making recommendations of which ICT product would fit your requirements. Depending on the equipment, what you have running, what kind of feature set you want. So we can actually help design and recommend a proper product. So presenting today on behalf of ICT will be Brian Klein. I've never seen a dull presentation from him. So looking forward to having him on today. And with that, I will pass the mic over to Brian.
Great, thanks, Cody. I appreciate that. And yeah, we here at ICT are super excited to have partnered up with MBSI WAV here in Canada to spread the gospel about who we are, what we do, what we have to offer all the various markets in terms of power solutions, primarily on DC, but also on the AC side as well. And with that phenomenal introduction, what I think I'll do is launch right into this presentation here. I would anticipate this is probably going to be 35, 40 minutes, something along those lines. As Cody mentioned, I'll have a question and answer section at the end that we can deal with anything that comes up at that point. And what I'll be going over today is just who we are and what we do and what we have to offer and what sort of sets us apart from some of our competition and some of the other power players in the field. And then we'll take a look at some of the products that are probably applicable to the businesses and the services that you do and that you provide. And hopefully we can find some common ground and you'll see something there that triggers your wallet. You'll open it up and everybody will go on from there. So that being the case, let's talk a little bit about who ICT is and what we do and how we do it. So ICT has been around since the mid-'80s. So we are 30-something plus years old, providing DC power conversion products used in wireless communications and industrial power sites globally. So we sell into every corner of the world. A good chunk of our sales is in North America, but we do quite a bit in Latin and Africa and EMEA and so on. Australia is very big for us as well. So we're a global DC company. Our mission is providing innovative, connected, and highly reliable power devices to meet all the world's growing demands for internet providers and cell and DAS, and then we'll talk about all the different markets that we're into. But again, it's providing innovative, because that's right there in our name, connected and highly reliable power systems. Our focus, again, using innovation, big buzzword because it's the first one in our name, is developing solutions to help our customers overcome their challenges, providing the highest quality, best value, and one of the taglines that we're very focused on here is the last one here, it's the lowest cost of ownership. So we work with end users and customers and all the different procurement paths and channel partners and everyone to determine what is the right products to be released. We are listening to our customer base and our potential customer base to figure out what kind of products we should be designing and releasing. We are not, just a CTO sitting in the corner office thinking this is cool and that's cool and why don't we make one of these and throw it against the wall and see what it sticks. All our product development is based on customer interaction, understanding the requirements, where the gaps are and what they can do, and designing and releasing products that can do just those things. So again, we're a market leader in, and here's the keyword here, remote DC power management. We'll be talking about that for the next few slides, the remote aspects that we can provide over the Ethernet connections, supporting mixed site voltages and polarities. Our products are all certified and or designed to all the regulatory standards, be it CSA or CE or UL or whatever it might be. In applications that require those products to have certification, we've got that as well with the bulk of our product lines. Again, it's a customer-driven product design and testing process. So again, we are listening to folks like yourselves, understanding what you're doing, the equipment you're powering, what you'd like to be able to do with it, what you must be able to do with the power component, and tying it all together to come up with a successful system. All of our equipment is engineered, manufactured right here in the outskirts of Vancouver, BC, Canada. Lovely because it's raining outside yet again. So no OEM private label things that fall off the back off a boat from China. All of our stuff is designed, built, tested, engineered, released, supported right here from our Vancouver shop and with our partners like MBSI WAV. And these various product lines include, and we'll get into this in a little bit, high efficiency 1U power supplies for the three main DC voltages out there, the bulk of them coming with battery backup systems, integrated low voltage disconnects, all with the goal of providing reliable quality of service and minimal power loss. Other devices like hot swappable N+1 redundant systems. As the years go by, people are being less and less tolerant of failures and faults and glitches and blips and so on. So we work very, very hard to come up with high quality products that eliminate all these potential issues that end users might have with power failures and so on. So we work very, very hard on that using integrated battery disconnects, intelligent load distribution and so on. And again, the bulk of our products are all TCP IP monitored and controlled. So we'll talk about this in a second, but the ability to remotely monitor and control all the aspects of the devices that are connected. And what you'll see that when I get to our differentiator slide is that's what really sets us apart from some of the other competition in the space, the way in which we do that and the level to which we do it. Don't know if I need to tout the benefits of remote power management because it's becoming more and more mainstream these days, but everything that we do and everything that we design and sell and support and so on is all with the goal of avoiding unnecessary site visits by being able to receive system status alarms that in many cases, most cases, can be resolved by simply changing the state of an affected device. So we are very much looking at building fire and forget power systems. You go, you install it, you connect it, you flip the switch, you turn it on, and in theory, you never have to go back to the site again to deal with a power or a connection or an operability issue. We allow you to be able to, again, control and monitor that sitting on your couch, in your jammy pants, watching Netflix on a Sunday night and not having to deal with upset customers and loss of service and so on. We do that by maintaining network visibility with a very easy to use proprietary graphical user interface. So the GUI that we use is proprietary. It is built-in to the devices themselves. So that means there is no exe files that we require you to download that might be blocked by your email server's blacklist or whatnot. No updates that need to be pushed to people with email addresses that are no longer with the company who have us under junk or all kinds of shenanigans. All of our equipment comes built in with this. And again, it's very much fire and forget. You have it, it's super simple to use, and you don't have to worry about files and uploads and downloads and grabbing updates from here and there and everywhere. It's super simple to use. You're up and running within literally minutes. So that provides the ability to monitor critical devices and again, control them off-site with the click of a mouse or a push of a button. So whether it's your iPhone, your iPad, your whatever Google device you're using, a laptop, whatever it is, you can use our GUI, monitor the entire system, not just the power piece, and we'll talk about that, but the entire system you've got connected there. Keep an eye on it, look for issues, be able to deal with them again remotely. And we integrate completely with HTML or SNMP protocols to make management over a network intuitive and seamless. So you can utilize our GUI to monitor systems, or we very seamlessly integrate into overall system network coverage and monitoring solutions using SNMP and all these various protocols that are out there in the world. We fit right in and can be part of an overall site solution and monitoring. This is an article that we wrote a couple of years ago, just again expounding on the virtues of the benefits of remote power management. You have 5 seconds to read all this. There'll be a skill testing question later. No, there won't on this. It's just summarizing how IT and the power industries have merged over the last decade, how it's becoming more and more critical for operators and users to be able to install their systems and then again keep an eye on it remotely without having to send people up mountains or into the bush and so on to be able to do very simple corrections, changes, or fixes. Bringing it all home with the benefits, again, of remote power management. When a repeater locks up, for example, a remote wireless site, that takes truck rolls. That requires paying people, often 2 of them, time and a half to put them in a truck and roll them 3 hours into the bush to go flip a switch or turn a knob or push a button or whatnot, just to bring the entire system back online. We are preventing you from having to do that. We are mitigating any of those issues by being able to control your systems from your couch or bed or desk, wherever you might be, and be able to see what's going on, push a button, fix the problem, cycle the power, bring it all back online, and you're off to the races. And by doing that, again, we're reducing truck rolls, the time and expense to put gas in the helicopters to fly people to the top of Banff Mountain in the middle of February in parkas to, with their big gloves, flip a switch or something. We eliminate the necessity for that, thereby saving the end users money by not having to do all this post-sales activities. We utilize that again with our proprietary GUI, again with a built-in web server. A screen like you've got here on the right-hand side simply shows all the devices that are connected and their status and the voltage and the current that's all being applied and where everything's at. And in case of issues, have alarms be sent to your phone, iPad, laptop, again, whatever it might be. Just simply take a look, make adjustments, cycle power, drop things off, whatever you might be having to do. System maintains, keeps up and running. You haven't had to spend any time or money at all having to go out and deal with nagging, support issues. So a lot of the markets and applications that we play in are listed on this slide here. We're not limited to everything here. We've done all kinds of unique and crazy applications, but this is primarily a lot of the vertical markets that we sell into. Obviously, WISPs is huge, RANs, DAS, small cell, public safety and emergency services is a huge market for us, resources, utilities, transportation. We do a lot of stuff with government, whether it's at federal or provincial levels. In the States, we do, at state level, and we do all kinds of stuff with defense and military and governments and so on. In-building DC power, SCADA, telemetry, renewable energy, all the way back to our early days in the 80s where we had, heavy brick power supplies that would, people's blinds would go up and down and we'd heat their hot tubs and all kinds of stuff. we've really grown from those days, but again, market segments that we cover with a whole variety, just list of products. So the need for reliable DC power is widespread in all kinds of industry. AC mains or the included wall wart type adapters that often come with radio systems or broadcast systems or whatever it might be. You know, power is often an afterthought, if a thought at all, when people buy their shiny toys to do all their communications. The power piece is like, oh yeah, we got to be able to flip the switch and turn this on. What have we got? In a lot of cases, they don't come with anything. In many cases, it comes with, you know, your laptop charger wall wart type adapter, and you plug that into the wall and you hope that everything goes well, and that is the integral piece to running your entire communication system. That's not enough. People aren't going to be, you know, confident in their system's ability to stay up and running by just having a wall wart type thing. So that's where we come in, providing, you know, reliability and high quality and remote monitoring and control and so on. So obviously there's a huge market for us. There's a huge market for MBSI WAV. Those of you here listening to me drone on know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know, probably see the need for having much more than just plug something into the wall, crush your fingers, and hope everything works. This slide here is just an example of how ICT equipment can slot into, for example, in this case, a small cell network. And we'll delve into the products a little bit deeper here shortly. But we can utilize our rectifier systems and our inverters and our distribution capabilities and so on, connecting to switches and routers and backup battery systems into the AC mains to keep communication systems up and running. So we've got all kinds of different product families that provide different capabilities, whether it's DC to AC inversion or AC to DC rectification or DC to DC converters and so on. And I'll get into those, like I said, a little bit deeper in a few minutes. But we've got a full system, a full capability of being able to provide all the different power requirements and capabilities that folks like yourselves would need in the system that you are installing or maintaining or whatnot. A couple other examples here. I won't delve into all those, the small font and the little bitty graphics. But again, whether it's a wireless broadband system or an LMR network, an emergency public safety system, whatever it might be, again, we've got a bunch of different product families that can supply and support all those necessary requirements. Again, with power supplies, inverters, distribution, LVDs, backup batteries, radio covers, whatever it might be. ICT's got a full meal deal there of all the different power components that might be required in applications such as these. So who do we fit with? You know, it's good to understand how ICT fits with a lot of the other brand names or vendors that you guys are probably familiar with, whether it's Ceragon or Redline and FreeWave radios, or whether it's with Motorola and Kenwood and ICOM and so on, and CommScope and DDB and Telrad, and all these different communication systems vendors. They all require power. There is an on switch where something needs to be turned on. And in any application where it's more than just plug it into the wall and hope nothing goes wrong with it, that's where ICT fits, along with all these other vendors, to supply a full solution. So, key differentiators for ICT. What sets us apart from other brands, other power suppliers and vendors that are out there? Well, first one is the numbers game. A lot of shenanigans out there when you look at specs and ratings and so on. Our power supplies produce full power, both 110 or 220 AC. We don't derate our products. Some of our competition likes to play numbers with their specifications. You get X amount of power if you have this input voltage, but if it's this input voltage, then you have to derate 2% for every drop and so on. Our power is our power. When we say something is 1500 watts, it's 1500 watts, regardless of what the input is or what the current draw is or what the devices connected are. Our products are what they say they are in any possible environment and situation. Our ease of use and installation. I've heard a lot from customers like yourselves and end users and folks. You know, from the time you take out your box cutter and you open an ICT box with something in it, to get it up and fully running is somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 minutes. So connecting your wires, plugging things in, you know, getting your GUI up and running. It's very, very simple to use. There's no need to remove covers to make wiring connections. There's no bolt-on components where you bought this, but you didn't get that aspect of it. You didn't, for example, get the TCP/IP piece. So now there's another SKU with another dollar figure attached to it that you didn't consider in the first time. Now you have to go back and order this, and then you have to have a technician wire it up and do all the connections themselves and pop covers off, which rip stickers and void warranties and all the shenanigans that go on. We don't play that game. Our stuff is very simple to use, very simple to install. You know, our manuals are super deep and intensive and step-by-step instructions about how to take this thing out of the box, wire it up, program it, flip the switch, turn it on, go home, have a cup of coffee, and not have to worry about it anymore. There's no separate software to load like I talked about earlier, no exe files, no things that have to be sent over the internet or through email, and uploads and downloads and automatic updates that bring systems offline for the time that it's doing all that. We don't do any of that stuff. So customers, once they've got our stuff, realize how easy it is to use, how quickly they can get it up and running, and not have to worry about, oh, I forgot this, and oh, I didn't realize that, and if I do this, now this is going to cause issues, and so on. ICT has eliminated all that in our design process and so on. Many of our products come with front panel displays and menus for on-site monitoring, status, and settings adjustments as well. So with some of our competition, you have one or you have the other. You can either do all your programming and configurations and whatnot on site, but not have the remote monitoring and control capability. Or the other way around. You can do it all remotely, but if you're on site, there's no front panels with buttons and knobs and so on to make adjustments and so on. So we allow you to be able to do that both on-site and off-site. So we're providing redundant control and configuration abilities with the bulk of our equipment. Some of the features that our product families have, they are fully scalable. So you can start off at this power level because that's what you needed today. You needed 2,100 watts worth of power, but you start to build out these systems. Now I need 3,000, now I need 4,000, I'm adding more equipment, I'm adding more devices and loads and so on. You don't have to pull everything out and install a brand new system. It's scalable. You can add, you can just keep combining more power components to get you to the point at which you need. They're fully configurable. They are polarity agnostic, so the bulk of our equipment will work at positive 12 volts or negative 48. It doesn't matter what the grounding situation is, whether you have a positive or negative grounded application. Our gear is agnostic for the most part, and you'll be able to just take that, and the stuff that works over here in a negative 48 environment will work over there in a positive 48, and so on. We've applied a lot of enhanced security features over the last 12, 18 months. We're all the way up to SNMP version 3, which is the latest. We are utilizing TLS 1.2 and all the fancy engineering buzzwords for maintaining network security on the equipment that we've got. So I don't think anyone is super concerned about, you know, Kim Jong-un hacking into our systems and turning off communication systems, but that capability is out there, and a lot of our competition doesn't have enhanced network security on our equipment. Ours does. You're going to have all kinds of encryption and passwords and user settings and so on. That's going to prevent tampering and network manipulation and so on. A lot of our equipment comes with an integrated low voltage disconnect. So when sites are using backup battery systems, low voltage disconnects allow you to prevent devices when they're on backup battery power from draining down so low that the battery becomes useless, or the devices that are connected are trying to suck that last remaining DC power out. So they're unable, you know, they start blowing fuses and popping breakers and corroding and sparks and fire and smoke and all kinds of bad things in the power world. We integrate our LVD into all of our devices that come with a battery backup connection. So again, you don't have to buy a separate SKU. It doesn't have to be bolted on. It doesn't have to be configured separately. It's built right into the system. The orange one here, this is our big selling point. This is the one when we're at trade shows or talking to customers or whatever it might be, when they realize the value that the orange line here brings, bullet number 4, this is what sets us apart from the other brands out there, and that is the individual monitoring and control of each connected device. So whether you've got one radio or 19 radios connected to our power system, we will provide you full diagnostics and visibility and remote monitoring and control to all 19 individually. Not all at once, not a group of 6 and another group of 6 and another group of 6 or whatever it might be on a bus. We can provide you with all those real-time metrics and monitoring capabilities to each and every device connected, so all 19 individually. So if one radio or one router or switch or whatever it might be has locked up and all the rest of the equipment is up and running, you can get that alarm, you can see the status of that device, you can make the remote change to just that one and not have to bring all the others offline while you reboot it or make a test or make an adjustment or do something. Everything else remains up and running. You can very quickly make the necessary fix to that one single device, get it back up and running, and that prevents customer negative feedback, people calling in, I lost my system, I've lost my internet, I've lost my comms, what's going on, what happened? It might have nothing to do with the communication device that they've got. It might have to do with some other one also on the network. We are able to allow you to fix just that one, to make the appropriate change, to get the alarm on just that piece and not affect all the others. And when that's a capability, customer satisfaction goes through the roof and customer complaints are virtually nil. Alarm reporting, again, I've been tap dancing around this a little bit. All of our devices will allow you to get alarms and statuses and make adjustments, again, to each individual device that's connected to our power system. Not a group, not all of them at once, each individual one. You can get us very specific alarms, whether that's emails or text messages or blinking lights or whatever it might be through our GUI. We'll make that happen for you. Feature called the Network Watchdog, which ensures Ethernet connectivity even during power outages. So I like to take this back sort of to the 80s and the 90s of the whole house alarm concept, where you spent a fortune on alarming your mansion and then it was connected to the phone back to the central office. But when the power goes out and you had your plug-in phone, then you lose your connection to the phone. And so even though the alarms are going off, there's no connection back to the central office. So nobody has an idea that the alarms are off, and then you're burgled and you lose your $1 million Tiger you have stored in the backyard, and no one's any the wiser. So we have this network watchdog feature, which will ping IP addresses that you can set, and you can set the duration, and it will constantly ping the internet connection to make sure that it's there. And in the case that it's not, it will automatically, after a certain amount of pings that again is user settable, you can cycle the power to get that interconnection up and running again. So just like all of us at home working on our, we've got our laptops with our internet connection. When that router locks up, you got to pull the pin, you got to wait 10 seconds, you got to plug it back in and wait for it to boot up and all that good stuff. We're going to give you that visibility to make sure that that's not going to happen. We're going to keep that interconnection up and running. And if it does drop off for whatever reason, we're going to automatically reset that for you, get that up and running without you having to go to site or be unaware and so on. So having that confidence that you've got this remote monitored system, but you're not going to lose that connection even with power outages, is a huge safety feature and a huge selling feature for us. Load shedding, in order to be able to keep critical systems up and running, even again during power outages. So again, if we take that example where you've got 19 radios, for example, and the power goes out, lightning takes down the AC tower or whatever it might be, and you're on your battery backup system, you can set each of those 19 devices for, kind of important, sort of important, super important, very important, cannot lose, and so on. And as that battery power over time, be it days, weeks, months, whatever it is on the size of the batteries you've got, drains down and down and down, you can have certain devices just drop off. So you're not draining that battery at such a rate. So at this battery voltage, these devices automatically drop off. And when it drops lower down to this one, these ones go off. So you can set your critical communications with this load shedding feature. So you're, draining that battery down to the last possible drop of the important stuff and saving it and making it last as long as it can by dropping off some of the non-essential pieces of equipment and so on. If you've got a shack heater and someone's got an extension cord because they're charging their iPhone when they go to site, whatever it might be, drop those off early to maintain as long as you can that backup battery system. So we utilize a fully configurable and user-based load shedding system in order to do that. Battery backup with advanced metrics and revert functions. So, you know, early on in ICT's days and a lot of our competition, we can provide you with the battery voltage going to a battery while you're charging up and the current and so on. And in the case of a, you know, main AC power failure and you're on backup battery status, our competition and what we used to do is say, okay, coming from this battery now is this amount of voltage and it's drawing this amount of current. And that's all anybody could provide you. Now we give you all kinds of very cool features, such as battery run time, estimated time remaining, state of charge, you're at 86%, you're at 42%, you're at 39%, whatever it might be. We can provide you with these real-time metrics through our system to give you advanced battery metrics and so on. So you can actually take systems offline and do battery testing so you can check the status of your batteries. So again, if you've got a site up at the top of Banff Mountain somewhere, nobody wants to have to put two guys in a parka and run them up the hill to see what your battery state is. You can do that real-time metrics, state of charge, runtime remaining, you know, battery health metrics all through our equipment, again, sitting on your couch watching Netflix. So all of these benefits and features that ICT provides that most of our competition cannot is all there to prevent the disruption of service and reduce the total cost of ownership by eliminating the need for unnecessary site visits. So we are not the cheapest guys on the block. We're not the most expensive either, but the total cost of ownership for the amount of money you spend up front to buy ICT equipment, you will save that in service and support requirements that will be coming down the line. And that's been proven time and time again with our customer base. I'm going to take a sip of coffee.
Hey, Brian, while you enjoy your Java there, we did get a question come in just regarding the security. What level of encryption? Is it AES 256?
That is a good question. Last I recall, and this was years ago, it was 128, but so I don't have the exact answer to that, but I will absolutely, right after this, jump back to our network engineer guy, get you an answer, and then I'll provide it. So, good question.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know we have done security updates since. I knew it was at 128. My guess is at 256. I can't confirm that, but I will do that 10 minutes after the webinar.
Perfect.
Product families. So in terms of what ICT has to offer, again, I talked about all our different product families. We have power supplies or rectifiers. We have converters. We have inverters. We have distribution panels and so on. And I'm hoping none of those terms are foreign to anybody. But in terms of what we can provide, I mean, all the way back to our early days where we just had, you know, LMR desktop 12-volt power supplies that would connect to a Motorola radio. You know, we have those. 2 3-stage battery chargers, through rectifiers that can be mounted in as a chassis mount, so bolted to walls or inside enclosures and so on. We have DC UPS backup systems. We have separate low voltage disconnects. So your question should be, well, why do you have a separate low voltage disconnect when you just told us all about how it's all integrated? Well, we sell these into applications where people have old equipment or not our equipment that doesn't have an integrated LVD. So we've got a standalone piece that we can provide as well to steal business away from some other vendor. Rack mount kits and so on. DC to DC converters. So whether you're stepping up or stepping down, you're going from 48 down to 12 or 12 up to 24 or whatever it might be. If you've got equipment at site where some of it is 48 volt and some of it is 12, you don't need 2 entirely different rectifier systems. We can just do a conversion and take, you know, 1 feed of 48 and drop that down to 12, and now you can run your 12-volt equipment and so on. So we've got a full line of converters. Distribution panels, ICT. If you don't know much about ICT, if you've just heard us maybe in passing, this is sort of what ICT is known for when you don't dig past the 1-inch topsoil level, is we are the intelligent remote distribution guys. So we can take one DC power source and spread that power out to multiple devices, multiple radios, multiple transceivers, multiplexers, whatever it might be. We can put all of this into a single 1U solution And we've got a bunch of flavors here, whether it's fuse protected, circuit breaker protected, whether it's single bus, whether it's dual bus. So you can have 48 volts on one side and 24 volts on the other side and so on. We have front connections. We have rear connections. So if you're dealing with applications where the racks themselves are right butted up against the walls and you can't get back there to do all your wiring and your connections and your switches and whatnot, we've got devices where you can do all the connections right in the front, some with front panels, some without. We've got a full meal deal here in terms of what we can do with power distribution. Again, inverters, we talked about that in a lot of applications where everything is DC powered, but there might be, one or two devices that require AC. We can put an inverter into that site as well, whether it's 300 watt or 1500 watt and so on. We've got different choices here. And then in terms of power supplies or rectifiers themselves, we've got, again, a bunch of different product families to fit the requirements of different users. So sort of look at it as a good, better, really good, best sort of scenario. So, we've got basic 1U power supplies up to 1200 watts that you can have a battery connection with, but no remote monitoring and control if it's not necessary, if it's going into, a control room, or, the necessity to get that remote monitoring is not there. We've got those. We can step that up to higher power models, 800, 1600 watts and so on, with front panel displays and battery connections and standard remote monitoring and control equipment to have that, as opposed to not making it optional. Having those built-in battery metrics that I talked about, state of charge and runtime remaining, and the ability to do off-site battery testing and so on, all the way up into our modular power system, so providing N+1 redundant power. So in case some power component fails for whatever reason, you've built a redundant system that will allow for that piece to fail. Swap it out at your leisure next time you're going to site, but the power system remains up and running. And again, we're up into higher powers, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 watts, whatever it might be. So whatever your requirement is in terms of a necessity for power and all the attributes that come with it, be it remote monitoring control or LVD or battery charging or whatever it is, we've got a solution for you, and it's just finding the right mix and match in terms of price and capabilities and so on.
Hey, Brian, just sorry to cut in here just while you were mentioning LVD. Can you confirm what is the internal LVD rating, the internal LVD current rating, I should say?
It will depend on which of those power systems that we're talking about, but sort of our bread and butter, our flagship rectifier system is the one that is actually highlighted here in white, which is our either modular power series or its bigger brother, the Ultra series, and in that one it's 150 amps.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no worries. Our standalone LVD piece, in that one it's 200, FYI. In our flagship rectifier component, like we're talking about here, this modular N+1 swappable redundant one, it's 150, and then down into the good and the less good and so on, that'll drop a little bit, but it's 150 amps in their flagship one. So in terms of this N+1 hot swap redundant modular system, that's we're selling millions of dollars worth. It's our big money ticket item. This one comes in either a 1U or a 2U flavor, so you can actually double it up and then get twice as much power here and add in more distribution. So the spec sheets will detail all the different product families, and I'm not going to go line by line and tell you what each one has, but we can have up to 12 devices connected and up to 6,000 watts with battery management connections and so on. So we can very much a la carte these systems for what each of your power requirements are. Somebody might need 1,200 watts, and somebody needs 2,200 watts, and somebody's connecting 8 devices, and someone's connecting 3. Somebody's got this, we can a la carte this. MBSI WAV and/or myself can work with you guys to come up with what is the best solution for what you've got and what you want to do. So I won't drill too deep into all the the product families here. That's what spec sheets and MBSI and phone calls and emails and all that sort of good stuff is for. But just sort of to delineate here the difference between some of our power supply product families. Again, this modular power series that I talked about, this is a big seller for us. You know, it's got all the bells and whistles of what folks are wanting nowadays, you know, with their power requirements and remote control and hot swap and all that stuff. So it's a fully redundant N+1 system. It can either come in 1U or 2U. It's comprised of these power modules, each being 700 watts right now. So you can just add more in for whatever your power requirement is. You just add 700, 1400, 21, and so on. So you can a la carte this thing for what your power requirements are, adding in these 700 watt power modules. They all have adjustable outputs. So, you know, if someone's got a standard 55.2 volt application, great, but someone's got a very specific 48, or they've got some weird specific voltage that they need for one device, they're all adjustable. Battery management module, it can either come with single or dual breakers, each rated at 100 amps each. Within a built-in LVD, again, there's your answer right there, 150 amps LVD. We can provide temperature compensated battery charging, so it can come with a temperature probe where you can check the ambient temperature of, you know, batteries charge and discharge at different rates based on ambient temperatures and how old they are and so on. So we can provide you with all those kinds of metrics and so on. Each comes with built-in load distribution modules. So these are circuit breaker protected outputs. So again, you can a la carte this thing for however many devices you're connecting. We can fine tune it with very specific circuit breakers. So whether your max is 5 amps or 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever it might be, we can provide you with a specific circuit breaker so that if you got some gear which is drawing 3 amps, we can put a 5 amp breaker on that. Got some gear which is drawing 12 amps, we can put a 15 amp breaker and so on. So we can very much fine tune this power system that you're after. And again, this comes with an OLED front panel with full remote monitoring control using our embedded web server that I talked about earlier and so on. So very big seller for us. Folks seem to like this device as well. Sort of a step down from this is the same concept. It's called our Platinum series. It's not N+1 hot swappable, but it's got these integrated LVD, it's got these battery metrics, we've got standard TCP/IP remote monitoring and control, comes in a couple of flavors from 800 or 1600 watts and so on. You know, and if you're a little more price conscious or you don't need all the shiny toys and bells and whistles that comes with some of our devices, we've got what's called the Pro series. So again, a 1U unit, it's got an optional backup battery system in it, powers of 700 or 1200 watts and so on. So the message here being, whatever your power requirements are, whatever it is you need in terms of features and benefits and current and so on, we can a la carte a system for you that best suits your needs, and it's not overkill, and it's scalable, so it's not underkill. You'll be able to add to it down the line. Distribution panels, I talked about these a couple slides earlier. Again, it's 1U devices. Typically, it's 12 outputs per, with a total current rating of up to 240 amps, and again, it's voltage and polarity agnostic. So whether it's 12 or 24 or 48 volts, whether it's positive or negative, we've got these same distribution panels to just take that single source power and distribute it across multiple devices. Like I said earlier, some are front connections, some are rear, some are circuit breaker protected, some are fused, some are, you know, and so on. So, and again, these all come with front panel displays and alarm indicators and fully remote monitored and controlled. Some other devices we've got, high power site converters. So up to 100 amps, converting, you know, 48 volts down to 12 and so on. You know, some of our smaller converters, you know, are the size of half a loaf of bread. But we do have some 2U devices here that, you know, will take up to 105 amps and so on. Again, all these have remote alarms and shutdown contacts and so on. 3-stage battery chargers, we have these as well, again, at all three of the voltages, 12, 24, and 48. Again, 3-stage charging, front panel displays, the ability to rack mount these, to plug in the temperature probes, to fine tune your charging and discharge rates and so on. Inverters, we can take your DC and go back to AC, again, whether it's at North American power at 110, or it's something in Africa, 220, or whatever it might be, again, at all three of the voltages. High efficiency, we've got built-in remote monitoring and control with these as well, with optional transfer relays to sort of use it as a bump in the wire. If AC power is on site, it just flows through this device, but when you have to switch over to backup DC battery power or generator or whatever it might be, this thing automatically now starts inverting the power and so on. So all kinds of very cool product families that we've got here. Point being, full meal deal. So whether you're going AC to DC or DC to AC, stepping up, stepping down, distributing that power, whatever it might be, ICT's got a product family that's going to provide you with what you need for whatever the circumstance is. This slide here just sort of summarizes everything I talked about. So super sexy shelf here with all our various devices in here, providing a full power solution for, again, whatever your requirements might be. Before I do this, I see two questions because Cody's slow on the mark here. Do you have an official, oh, wow, they're coming in fast and furious. Let me do a couple.
Hey, you were talking too fast, man.
Is that what it was?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. Third cup of coffee. It is what it is. Do you have an official release date of the 1500 watt power module? Summer. That's about as specific as I can get. We're looking at hopefully to release it this summer. If a circuit breaker pops, can you flip it back remotely? All right, good question. So when I did that example a couple of minutes ago, let's say you've got devices that are drawing 12 amps and we put in a 15 amp circuit breaker to protect the line. So how the ICT equipment works is for each device connected to the distribution piece, you set in the GUI what the disconnected reconnect voltages are, or sorry, currents. So in the GUI itself, if you've got a load that's drawing 12 amps, you might have that, you would set in the GUI that it disconnects at 12.5 amps, for example, and it reconnects when it's at 11.8, whatever it is. You set that. So that being the case, it will electrically trip the relay inside. It will not pop the physical breaker. So the physical breaker is really a secondary or tertiary protection device for if you are going to site and you need to manually flip off a line and you didn't bring your phone to do it with you through the GUI. So the settings are done in the GUI. The circuit breaker itself is almost a redundant safety secondary feature. So in that example, when that device, for whatever reason, drew 12.6 amps, that relay in the device trips, opens the circuit, wait till that current drops down to whatever it is you've set it at, and turns it back on. It's all done electrically. The physical circuit breaker itself will never pop. And that's the answer to that. And that's how we do that. And that prevents, again, technicians having to go to site to simply flip a switch to make something turn back on because it popped the breaker. We will open our relay well before a circuit breaker ever pops. So you'll get that alarm, you'll be able to reset it electrically and not have to worry about the actual mechanical flipping of the circuit breaker. And that, again, is a feature that we provide that most of our competition does not. With them, it's one or the other. You either set it electrically and hope that everything works, but if if the current draw is so high, there's not a backup circuit breaker there to actually physically, hydraulically, mechanically pop. Or the other way around. Our competition has got circuit breaker load distribution, but it is what it is. It's 15 amps, and if that pops, you physically have to switch that. You can't control it remotely. We provide both stages, and that pretty much, is hugely important and redundant. Hope that answers that. Any plans to provide higher power module for the Modular series in the future? Yes, we will be releasing a 1500 watt module, knock on wood, this summer. So we will take our power systems and go from 700 watts per module. And if you have 8 of those in a system, for example, that's 5,600 watts. We're going to be going to 12,000 watts here in the next few months. Got a question here about 1,200 watt rectifiers. Yeah, I've got those. And again, those come in Pro and digital and modular. So figuring out what your needs are, whether or not you need remote monitoring and control, and you need battery backup connections and so on. I've got 3-4 different product families that can provide you at 1,200 watts. I've got Pro, I've got Platinum, I've got Modular, and I've got Ultra. All of those can give you that. Cody, thanks for the questions. Never mind, Brian. The man is on it. Yeah, all right, Jamie. Okay, good. This slide here. So this is, you know, a very quick way that I can assist end users, and the folks over at MBSI can, you know, ask a couple of very basic questions and help identify what is the right product family for your specific application. So some very simple questions about whether your site is AC or DC powered. And, you know, if it's DC powered, then what is it you're looking for from a power system? Is N+1 redundancy nice to have or a must have? You know, do you need this to never fail? In case one of the power modules for whatever reason goes oopsies, are you able to just bypass that one and, you know, power share and load share and so on and keep the whole system up and running? So is that a requirement? And the yes, no will allow us to determine what product family we're after. Is battery management and metrics a requirement? Do you want to have visibility to runtime remaining and state of charge and be able to do all the different temperature coefficient settings for gel batteries versus lead acid versus whatever it might be? If those are things that are important to an end user such as yourself, we can provide you with equipment that provides that. And if that's not a necessity, we can follow the no line and you know, find some less expensive and less complex. Is battery charging a requirement? Is remote monitoring and control a requirement, and so on? So just some very basic questions from either myself or the gang over at MBSI, just trying to understand your needs and your requirements, allows us to narrow it down to a product family. And from that, a couple more questions will allow us to get right into the specific SKU that's the best fit for you. And the way that we do that is with a questionnaire that looks something like this. So the gang over at MBSI will either can provide this to end users. They can talk to you about this on the phone, whatever it might be. This is the information that is required in order to specify a specific device right down to the part number. So what's the input voltage? What's the output voltage? How many loads? What are their current draws? Where is it physically going to be located? Is it in a rack? Is it in an enclosure? Is it on a desk? And so on. Is there a battery bank there? Do you want to be able to remotely receive alarms and change statuses and so on? So some very simple questions like this with some very simple tick boxes will allow the folks at MBSI to drill right down into it and go, all right, your part numbers, the ICT, IPS, BMM, DLDMP, whatever it might be. These very simple questions and very simple answers will allow them to get right into it and design a system for you based on what it is you're after. And again, this is available from the guys at MBSI, and they'll utilize it to the best of their abilities. All right. Any questions that haven't been asked or answered in the chat window? I am now wide open.
So we'll, if anybody has any questions before we wrap up, please feel free to pop them in that chat window. While we wait for that, I guess we can do our, we'll get our skill testing question here. So we'll give everybody just a couple of moments to make sure they have that chat window open. It is a rapid fire, so first answer will get the $100 Amazon gift card. So we'll just give everybody a quick moment to get the chat window open. I've actually considered playing that song, but I haven't gone that far yet. But one day. I think your version's great. All right.
You don't have to pay for it. Okay, go.
All right, get your fingers on the keys, folks. What is the maximum output in watts of an ICT Ultra power module? Got some answers coming in.
Power module, yes. Singular power module.
Just a singular Ultra power module. Oh, we got it now. We took a few answers. Jason D, you are our lucky winner. So we will be in touch with you to get you your Amazon bucks. All right. Well, I guess with that, we're getting close to the top of the hour here. So again, thank you everybody for attending. We appreciate your time as always. Please do, thank you, Brian. Perfect timing. Brian's provided some contact details for himself and some of his other teams over at ICT. Feel free to reach out to any of them with any questions, whether it's related to this webinar or anything else. Also, feel free to reach out to your MBSI WAVE sales representative. We can certainly help with any additional information you may require. Feel free to reach out to us, ICT, or both collectively. We're happy to help. MBSI WAVE, we will be hosting more webinars as we move forward here. We have typically about one a month, so we'll be making sure to personally invite everybody to those as we get our upcoming sessions scheduled. With that, I'd just like to, again, thank you, our friends at ICT, Brian, for putting together the presentation today. Great content. Hopefully everybody got something out of it. And if anybody has any needs or wants to have a look at the solutions that would fit their network, we're happy to take a more personal call, whether it's just with us or along with ICT. We're more than happy to do that. In saying that, we'll let everybody go. Again, stay safe, everybody. Thank you very much, and hopefully we can actually start getting together in person again sometime in the near future. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.